Hey, hi, hello, it's me, Tiana, here, back at it again for another video, and today we are talking about Ariana Grande. If those of you who don't know, your girl is a Mocha Grande. I am a big Ariana Grande fan. Today is October 30th, and she dropped her new album, Positions, that I listened to, and I wanted to talk about her album because I saw a lot of conversation about it, about my thoughts on her album as a fan and as a Black fan. And I specifically want to talk about the fact that I am Black and a fan of Ariana Grande because I feel like it's a lot of contention in the community, and by the community I mean my community, the Black community, about Ariana Grande and her place within music, and R&B music or pop R&B or whatever it is we're calling the type of music that she does. I would say that what she is making is pop R&B, and it was really interesting to me. So Ariana Grande just announced out of nowhere that she was putting out an album, right? She just put out a tweet and was like, I can't wait to give you my album this month. Now, this is just coming from my own personal brain. Like I said, I have done no research. I do follow her on Twitter. That's how I found out she was putting out an album. If she had said something else somewhere else, or we knew that she was putting out an album soon, I didn't know. So the first time I realized that she was putting out an album was when she put out the tweet saying, I can't wait to give y'all my album this month. Everybody was excited. Well, the people I saw was excited. And then she was like, a couple days later, or maybe a week later, she was like, she announced a date for her lead single, Positions, and a date for her album, which was last Friday, and then this Friday was the album. During that time period from her announcing that her album was coming out and the album actually coming out, there was a big conversation happening about Ariana Grande making more adult-oriented R&B music, and a lot of people, a lot of Black fans that I follow were sort of aggravated with the whiter fans or non-Black fans who had an issue with Ariana Grande allegedly making an R&B album and having her album be more sexual or more adult, and being like her audience or her fan base is mostly young girls, so she should not be making music that's overly sexual. And then the criticism I saw from a lot of people, the smart criticism I should say, or the weighty criticism I should say, I saw of that people were making of those people who are making those criticisms of Ariana was that, number one, you're kind of only saying this because she's making R&B music, because her music previous to now has always been sexual. It's just, it hasn't always been called R&B. Like, I feel like she's been making R&B light music ever since her first album, but I do understand why other people might not view it that way. I listen almost exclusively to R&B music, and I can hear like the reference to the R&B artists that she likes and listens to in her music. Like, I hear the Beyonce, I hear the Brandy, I hear, you know, the Jill Scott, like I hear the India.Arie, who she said herself was one of her favorite artists. Like, I can hear those influences of these musicians in her music. So to me, I've always, it's like her first album is like, I don't understand, and I get the comparisons to Mariah Carey is like, sometimes, because yeah, she's Mariah Carey is an icon and a legend, and literally everyone who came after Mariah Carey is influenced by Mariah Carey. It's just that in Ariana Grande's music, the influence is very clear. Like, you can like make a straight line to to Mariah Carey from Ariana Grande, because you can see exactly who she was listening to when she grew up and what influenced her musical style and her musical taste. Like, if you opened up her, you know, iPhone and looked in her Apple Music or her Spotify, I'm sure the top most played artist, Mariah Carey, is in there because it's a big influence on her music. And I don't feel like that's any slight to Mariah Carey, and I also feel like people don't need to be like, she's the next Mariah Carey, because that's not what I mean or what I'm saying. But the influence is there. It's very clearly there. So to me, she's always made R&B music, and if you listen to her music, it's always been sexual. She's always talked about being a sexually active person. So to all of a sudden be like, because the rumor was that she's making a strictly R&B album, that, oh, it's too much, it's too mature, she's doing too much for her fans, she's going in a direction her fans is not gonna like. It's like, that's like nakedly anti-Black, because the music is not different. It's not different. And then the other sort of criticism I get that I've been like sort of dancing around when I talk about my love for Ariana Grande is just it's the blackfishing thing. Like I've said, or implied, or like hinted at in other videos that I've mentioned Ariana Grande, that I do recognize that her skin color is an issue, right? She's a little bit problematic. I think I talked about this in my Gabby Hanna video, which I'll also put in the eye if I remember. But it is a little bit problematic that if you look at some pictures of Ariana Grande from previous to her really skyrocketing to fame, she's lighter. Her skin is paler. Now, she is Italian. Italians do tend to tan very well. And to me, she's not at a place that is past reasonable to be that dark. Like, it's not giving Nikita Dragon, you know? It's not giving, even the Kardashians to some extent. Sometimes Kim Kardashian will pop out and I'm like, babe, are we the same foundation shade? Like, what's happening there? But I don't feel like she is giving enough for me to be like, okay. However, the skin and the aesthetics paired with the music is problematic. Like, I can see how people can be like, Ariana Grande is trying to be biracial, or she's trying to give an illusion of being non-white, or she's trying to give the aesthetic of like a touch of blackness, just a touch of blackness. And like, it's not, to me, it's not really in like how she describes herself, or like, because she's not giving Krayshawn, she's not even giving Miley Cyrus when she was trying to be like a rap. To me, and this is my own personal opinion, to me, this is what I think. I feel like if you look at the people that she surrounds herself with, it makes sense for this to be how she presents herself. I was watching a interview that she did when Thank You Next, the album, came out. And she was with like everybody that she worked with on that album and with all her friends. And if you look at her circle, they're black. All of her friends are black. All of her like collaborators are black. So it makes sense for her music to be black. Like, there's some stuff that I think is a little bit goofy. Like, a lot of Seven Rings, a lot of the stuff with Seven Rings I thought was a little goofy, and it didn't fit who Ariana Grande actually is. Because even after Seven Rings came out, I think Monopoly, I think that was the name of the song that came out with Victoria Monet, who's her best friend and her co-writer, who is a black girl. They had a song that came out together, and one of the lines in the song, I can't remember what it was, but Victoria Monet made a reference to something that was like a black movie reference, and Ariana didn't understand it. And then like when I heard that like in the song, because it was like they were talking back and forth at the end of the song, when I heard that in the song, it clicked immediately in my mind that the reason why a lot of the stuff that is in, or the reason I'm ascribing all the some of the stuff that's in her music doesn't feel authentic to a white girl from Florida is because it was written by a black girl. Like, her co-writer is a black girl, and a lot of the references and like the musical influence, some of the musical influence, and even the production, because her producer that she uses for all of her music really is a black man. It has so many like specific things that I feel lends her a sense of authenticity within black music that a lot of the other girls don't have, which is probably why I like Ariana Grande, but didn't really care about Miley Cyrus or even Selena Gomez when she was trying to dip her toe in it. I did kind of like when Demi was trying to be black, but overall, Ariana Grande is the only one of those white pop girls who tried to dip a toe into blackness or R&B or black culture who I really was like, it felt real. Like, it felt like this was actually music that she listened to, that she cared about. And it's probably because, number one, it was produced by people who grew up with this music, who probably like is really into it, because people downplay how great R&B music is. And I was thinking about this too, because I listened to a podcast, and this is not shade to the podcast, because I honestly desperately want to be on this podcast. But I was listening to the podcast, and like every week they do like a breakdown of a song, and every week I'm like, I hope this is the week that they do a song that I know, or a song that's like not a super white song from the 70s that nobody knows. Well, people know it, but like not a super niche white song from the 80s or the 70s, or like a rock song, or like just white music. I was like, maybe this will be the week. Maybe this will be the week we'll get music that's not super duper white, because you know they used to do rap, and they used to do. Did they used to do R&B? They have done R&B, but it's been mostly just like white songs. And I like the podcast. I think it's funny. I'm not gonna stop listening to it because they don't do black music. But every week I'm like, I wish. And then one week they did Eye to Eye from the Disney movie, a Goofy movie. Yeah, a Goofy movie. That's the movie. That's one of my favorite movies. Why did I forget the name of it? So they did Eye to Eye from a Goofy movie, and the very first like big topic in the thing was the singer, and Tevin Campbell is the singer on Eye to Eye, and she didn't know who Tevin Campbell was. And I was just like, she like prides herself on being like really into music and is a musician herself, and I don't feel like she is not. I don't feel like she's pretending to be an expert in music, but the fact that she was such a like music person and cares so much about music and didn't know who Tevin Campbell was, it was just like, oh, it's a whole aspect of this that we're just never gonna get like tapped into. And she was like so shook when she was reading all the information about him from, I guess, his Wikipedia, and I'm just like, this is all information that any random casual R&B fan would know. But whatever. I lost my whole train of thought. I don't know what I was talking about, but either way, I think Ariana Grande's black influence in her like music and probably some of her styling and like the positioning of herself is because she is around black people all the time. All of her friends are black, and she's made it very clear that those are the only people that she likes to be around. It, like I said, from that interview, I could be wrong, but from that interview, it seemed like the only people that she likes to really hang around are her friends, the people that she makes music with, and she views them as family. She also, you know, makes all of her music with the same people. And Bob, I think it was just the last, like, Sweetener, Thank You Next, and this album Positions, I think was made with like the same group of people of, you know, her black girl songwriters and her black boy producers. So like it makes sense to me for some of the stuff that I would be like, Ariana Grande don't know what that means, or I'm sure she does not use that in her regular language, to be like, oh, but Victoria probably does, or Taylor probably does. And then the other side of that, though, is even with this like cover of having black people in her circle, and like another thing that I think you can sort of root out the vultures from the people who actually care about the culture is when they dip their toe in the culture, are they aligning themselves with black women or with black men? Because the vibes are different. I'll just say that. And I also just say that of all the other girls that I mentioned, the people who was linking up with black men are the ones who I felt like it just wasn't good. It was giving Iggy Azalea. And that's not, the girls need to be giving Ariana and not Iggy. And that's my only thoughts on that. But the other side of that is that also when white people step into black spaces, they have their whiteness as a like level up on people in that actual community. So while I personally don't mind white artists doing black music, I do also understand that white people in black music will always have a leg up that people who are in this culture like just will never have. There'll never be a black girl who will reach those Ariana Grandes. Like, I can't even think of an R&B star that is even close to being in the same realm as Ariana Grande. It's like the Eminem thing of Eminem being a super popular rapper and being talented, sure, but then to have him being put into the conversation as like the greatest rappers ever and having to him be like the face of rap, even though he has not put in as much time or quality work as other people in the genre, simply because he's white. Like, it's the same thing. Ariana Grande is a phenomenal singer and she makes great music that I love, but there are plenty of other women in R&B music who make music as good or better than her, who sing as good or better than her, who will never have the same opportunities that she is. And we have to be honest with the fact that a lot of people choose to go into spaces where they have privilege so that they could succeed easier than if they were in their same space. And this is not to say that Ariana Grande would not still be Ariana Grande if she decided to just do pop music. However, her deciding to do this R&B pop hybrid does give her some distinction from the 5 million other white girls doing pop music, right? When she was first sort of figuring out her self and her sound, she was giving very much the same things that Molly or Selena or Demi or any of the other child stars turned singers were giving. However, when she stepped out and got more specific with her sound and more unique with her sound, she was able to step out, and it also gave her some of the biggest hits in her career. So like, I can see both sides of it. I can see people being like, or my own personal stance that I'm not bothered by the fact that she makes R&B music, because I feel like it's authentic, that she truly likes the music and listens to it, and she surrounds herself with black people who grew up with this music and have more personal, I guess, connection to it, because R&B is black music. Don't let nobody else tell you different. But so, and then also being like, it's an active and like advantageous choice to be a white girl in black music. It's the same thing as all of these professors and people in academia coming out, and we're finding out that they were pretending to be black for a million years. It's not because being black you get like so much great, like wonderful things being black. It's mostly because they realized that in white spaces they would not have as much power and privilege. So if they use their white privilege in black spaces, they're able to exceed and make it to places that they would not be able to do if they stayed in white circles. And that's, again, not to say that these people are not talented or smart or like great at whatever it is that they do, but just that they understand how privilege works, and they understand that being a white passing or white looking person in a black space will give you more I guess levity or more weight to throw around versus being a actual black woman in a black space. Like it, and those are just the facts. Those are just the facts. But I wanted to talk about the album. I didn't want to talk just about like Ariana and everything like going on with Ariana, but I really just wanted to talk about the album. So I do really like the album. I don't understand why people don't like it. Like I saw that some of the like blogs or music websites already have like reviews and stuff up. And first of all, I just feel like in one day, not even a full day, because I guess maybe a full day, because at this point it's 6 p.m. and the album came out at midnight. So like 18 hours. In 18 hours, you've listened to this album, you've sat with it, you've digested it, and you've formed an opinion on it. However, if you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't. Who is me to judge or tell somebody they don't like it? I mean, they like it. I just feel like it's just weird to have 12 hours into an album release have an opinion that the album is bad. This album is very much in the vein of what Ariana Grande has been doing. Like, this is very much in line with the trajectory she's been going on, from Sweetener to Thank You Next to now Positions. I feel like Positions is like, it's like a family of albums. Like, if you liked Sweetener and Thank You Next, you'll like Positions because it's in the same family. Like I said, she used, I think, all the same songwriters and producers on all three albums, outside of Pharrell, because I know Pharrell was on the first album. But with all three albums, she used mostly the same producers and songwriters, so they all have a very specific sound. And some people might think that that's boring, and I guess I can get that. And this might be the Virgo placement jumping out, but I personally like when artists have like a sound that is unique to them. Like, I like when I can like know that that's who the song is without hearing. I feel like I don't have to hear too many notes or too much of a song to be like, oh, that's a Mariah Carey song, or hear too many notes or hear too much about it to be like, oh, yeah, that's a Beyonce song. Like, people made jokes for years about Nicki Minaj like rap lyrics and like putting together their own like Nicki Minaj rap lyrics because her raps are, I guess they were trying to say it was formulaic, but I don't always feel like I know what Nicki Minaj is gonna say. But I do feel like she gives us certain beats and certain vibes that are specific to her, and I like that. Maybe that's a controversial take, but I like when artists have things that are theirs that I can, it's like a touch point. I think that's the word I'm trying to use, like something that like that we keep coming back to or keep repeating. I don't know what word I'm trying to use, that I'm trying to conjure in my brain, but like, I just like when stuff is like cohesive, I guess, and consistent, maybe is the word that I'm looking for. But I feel like if you like Thank You Next and Sweetener, you'll like Positions because it's very much in the same family, and there are even some references to Thank You Next in the album Positions. My only real criticism, honestly, is I think Positions is a dumb name for an album, and I think her lead single being Positions was the wrong choice. If you ask me, which no one did, she should have did hold on, I'm gonna tell you the name. It should have been Love Language. The name of the album should have been Love Language, and Love Language should have been the lead single. Number one, because I really like the song Love Language. I feel like it's like a fun, you know, dancey sort of song. And then of all the song titles that she has on this album, because it seems like she's going to name her album after a song on the album, which is fine. Everybody doesn't do that, but it's fine. I think that's the best album title of all the songs on the album. And then she doesn't really give us concept albums. Like, Ariana Grande is not giving us themed albums. Her albums all sound very personal and very much like her diary being spilled out. And I think that's a big reason why I like her music. It feels very personal. I saw a lot of people, when I was like looking at and researching stuff for my Gabby Hanna video, I saw a lot of people who were criticizing Gabby Hanna because they were saying her music was too personal, that no one could really relate to her lyrics, or they didn't really understand, like they couldn't really understand what it is she was like singing about, because she was talking about her life or her specific situations. And I felt like that was like an unfair thing, because for me, I like when music is very specific. Like, I like, and this might be because I do like to be in people's business just a little bit, but I like when I can listen to a song and like I'm with you in that space of when you create it. Like, I can look at the tabloids or whatever, the interviews and blogs and stuff, and see the pieces that led you to be like, oh, you said this line because of this person in this situation. Like, it makes the music make me feel like I'm a part of the music if I'm able to like piece the story together and understand where you as a songwriter was coming from when you wrote this, or the emotion that you were in, the space that you were in. And even if it's not like a one-to-one comparison, I can be like, oh, you know, I've been in relationships where I felt like, you know, this person maybe wasn't being all the way honest about their feelings for me. Or I've been in a relationship where, you know, am I the only girl, or like, is what's happening here? Like, we didn't put titles, or we didn't say names, but like I thought we was doing something. I've been in that space of feeling like insecure and thinking that you're not like good enough, or not smart enough, or not pretty enough, like, and I've been in that space of like depression and sadness and feeling like everything is pointless and hopeless. Like, I don't have to have been a superstar and like been you know, on a tour and have like feelings of having to live up to like in I can't remember what the name of that song is. I can't remember what the name of the song is, but on After Laughter, it's a song that Haley Williams